Hello everyone, how are you doing? This is Daryl Guberman, CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. I just got out of a meeting, and today, this video right now, right this second, is about QA authority. Daryl Guberman exposes NTSB, FAA, and Senate investigation of Boeing Max-9 incident bogus. Business owners, my fellow citizens, those of you who've been involved with the accident with Alaska Air, Ethiopian Air, Malaysian Air, and other incidents that happened while on Boeing aircraft. What I am about to tell you is something that you must listen to, you can listen to, and I'm going to try to keep it under 10 minutes. I'm going to shorten this up. You can find all the data, critical data, down below this video. If you can't find it, I got it though. Let's go through this. The American National Standards Institute is a private, not-for-profit, non-governmental entity that's been around for over 100 years. They have both federal agencies and corporations on board. You have the International Accreditation Forum, which is a repository for all accreditation bodies, national and international. ANSI, ANAP, you have the American National Standards Institute, who took over complete control over ANAP, the American National Accrediting Board, in 2018. Now, in 2016, I was personally asked by a former vice president of ANAP, chairman of the IF, and principal in the 990 tax form. I was asked to join. I have emails, I've got all the documentation, but I refused because that organization, which is incorporated in Delaware, the International Accreditation Forum, was handed over to a communist Chinese national who was also the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services, which certified the laboratory in Wuhan, China, that released the COVID virus. The reason why I say it released, because a Pamela Sale in 2017, a vice president of accreditation for ANSI, ANAB, ASCLD lab, which is owned by ANAB, ANSI, ANAB, said under deposition that from one laboratory to another, there are variances and they lack protocol. That's a no-no. That certificate is bogus. I'm not going to go on any further. I'm going to keep on going with this because I can go on and on. ANAB, which is part of ANSI now, sits on ANSI's board. You have the factor, as I told you, ANAB took over complete control over ANAB, or ANSI took complete control over ANAB in 2018. Mind you this, my fellow citizens and business owners and the senators who are going to be answering, it's unbelievable. Now, let me just say this. Well, let me just say this first. ANSI and ANAB sat on the IAF between 2015 and 21. That is when Zhao Jinwu, the communist Chinese national who has been involved with our quality since 1994, took over the IAF. So they were on there while the IAF was controlled by a communist Chinese national who also has the China National Accreditation, China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7, which mandates espionage. It's just unbelievable. But, you know, I was asked to join. But how, as I, a proud American, going to join ANAP or IAF or both, since ANSI ANAP, as you can see, sits on the IAF, controlled by Communist China between 2015 and 21, and also the IAF, who was run by the Communist Chinese national. Also, the worst thing is, I find, on an American-based company incorporated in Delaware, they have Iran and Pakistan. Two countries, okay, and I'm not saying this about the people. You have Pakistan, who harbored Osama bin Laden. You have this guy over here, Khomeini, who says death to America, and on top of it, they support Hamas. So can we say that ANSI, ANAP are part of Hamas, or they support and condone it? I, as a proud American Jewish business leader, find it very offensive that here you have Iran's leadership, who do not like, and Pakistan, who do not like the United States, sitting right over by their supposed number one accreditation body, ANSI ANAP. What's wrong with that picture? Also, Boeing sits on ANSI's board, and we're going to get to that right now. You have Boeing. Here's Boeing right over here. Boeing. This came right off Boeing's supplier portal that states ANSI, ANAB, or internationally equivalent, and the international equivalent, you find out, could be Iran or Pakistan or any other organization. Those accreditation bodies that sit on the repository of IAF are equivalent to an ANAB, ANSI ANAB accreditation, and ANSI ANAB are underwriters for those companies. The IAF, the International Accreditation Forum, they're an underwriter for, incorporated in Delaware. ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation, they are also the underwriters for them. So are you getting this picture yet, my fellow citizens and business owners? You also have the factor, you saw it on their supplier portal, must be ANSI ANAB. You also have Boeing sitting on there. Now Boeing's sitting over here on ANSI's board, right over by the FAA. Now there are 7 different registrars that use the ANAB logo that also sit on ANSI's board, right over here, getting the ANAB accreditation on there. Yes, the ANAB accreditation they get on there. Do you see how incestuous this is? On top of it, Intertech Registrars is a registrar for Spirit Aero Systems, which has a hell of a quality record from what I have gathered. So you have Boeing and the FAA. Now here goes the brass tacks. I want to show this to you because I think it is absolutely appalling in many ways concerning ANSI, ANAB, Boeing, etc. There's definitely an issue there, a very, very bad issue. We're going to get to this afterwards. You have the factor that Boeing fudged documentation, okay? Forged it, fudged it, they got caught, they got fined, along with their steel manufacturer, Kobe Steel. So you have a double header there. Most recently, the Bell Boeing composite facility that makes composite components, and I am a composite specialist, got caught from 2007 to 2018, not writing down proper temperatures, pressures, and with composites, I will explain this again, since I'm a composite specialist. You have resin that's impregnated in fiberglass, Kevlar, boron, graphite, etc., and they're piled on top of each other, and with time and temperature, pressure, etc., they're actually intimately bonded together, and it becomes one solid part. If you have interstitial bubbles, which are between the fibers and between the fabric itself, and vibratory stresses will cause it to disbond. We're also going to show you the factor where Boeing handed over their quality to ANSI ANAB certified suppliers. And it started in 2002. Over 22 years ago, they've been doing this, meaning basically they said on-site Boeing survey or audit of suppliers' quality system if need be. Our preference is to deal with proven suppliers with excellent quality performance and not have to do on-site quality system surveys, which means this. You build the part, here it is. Actually, you hand the certificate, you send in the certificate, they check their little box off and they say, okay, you're all set, just send us your part, and it goes on the plane. They don't have to send inspection out to those facilities that supply material. To make matters worse, you have the FAA in 2009 give up authority, FAA authority to Boeing. The first sentence says it all. I don't need to read because it's all going to be down in the description. The first sentence says, the FAA increased the authority of Boeing's commercial airplanes division to self-certify its own aircraft. That sounds, they definitely gave up. So how in good conscience can our senators do an inquisition of the NTSB, which is basically part of the Department of Transportation, which also sits on ANSI's board. And of course, you've seen the FAA sit on ANSI's board, and the FAA, you hear in this report that the FAA basically made Boeing a part of the FAA. So you basically have David Calhoun, the CEO, who is an administrator, because he's been there since 2009 when Boeing went in and waved their magic wand and said, you employ are now part of the FAA, and you can sign off aircraft. You can do all that stuff that the FAA did. You do it now. So basically, Boeing is a regulator. So how can you have one regulator, FAA, Boeing FAA? How can you have the FAA dispense any sort of corrective action. You can't. And now with our senators and congressmen, I want to show you this payoff list, this bribe list from Lockheed Martin. How can we have reliability that things will be answered properly, because these guys are all, and gals are all, in every 50 states are getting some money from Lockheed Martin. I know, Lockheed, Boeing, they're all getting their palms greased. We cannot have reliability on this inquisition that these people are doing, because it's a fraud. It is bogus. I thank you very much. If you need any questions answered, please give me a call, 203-556-1493, or Daryl, TQRS@yahoo.com. And QA Authority, Daryl Guberman, exposes NTSB, FAA, which both sit on ANSI's board, via the DOT, which is the Department of Transportation, part of the NTSB, and the FAA standalone. And Boeing is a FAA regulator. So who's doing this? And as I showed you, our congressmen and senators in all 50 states are getting their palms greased, probably by Boeing too, but nobody knows. Again, I thank you.